step into the haunted halls of Spooky School. Each week, we take the fearless Jimmy on a journey through uncharted horror territory as we introduce him to spine-tingling movies he's never seen before. Beware, dear listeners, for the chilling tales we unravel may leave you sleeping with the lights on. Here are your hosts, Professor Spooky and Jimmy.
Oh, well, hello.
Hey, dude.
Welcome to Spooky School. Glad you could join me.
Thanks for coming from the underworld, I guess. What's going on?
Of course. It's one of those things that you get taught as soon as you graduate.
Okay.
Anybody into horror has superpowers. Usually it's either you're extremely attractive or you can teleport. For me, I'm lucky. I get both.
No cosplays for you?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Good to see you, man. How
Good
have you
to
been?
see you, too.
What's new? What's exciting? How's life?
It's all great. We are in the swing of summer. And to give you a little behind the scenes, this is the weekend that Taylor Swift is in town.
All right.
And I do a lot of driving around the city. And I have seen more out-of-state license plates than I've ever seen in my entire life.
All of them from Victoria, British Columbia, I bet, right?
Yeah. From all over the United States, but a lot of them from British Columbia.
Imagine like being from out of like, I don't know, because I'm assuming she's going to like every single big arena in the world, right?
Yeah.
Is this the only like Pacific Northwest tour day? It can't be, right? Imagine living in California and then going like, you know where I really want to see her? Seattle. That sounds so cool. I should go do that.
It was, it's the population out there is wild. I went river floating yesterday.
Right.
And I saw, I just deep into the swims of the summer and everything. And it was just, the whole city was gnarly. I was so glad to be out and then on a river somewhere because the whole thing was just like gridlock. We had baseball games and everything. So I was like, I'm doing good, but the ranch is looking better.
Yeah. Keep me away from everybody.
Yeah. Oh my God. How about yourself?
The luck of the draw for me was I'm part of the Horror Writers Association in Seattle, right? I'm the co-chair for that.
Uh-huh.
So 2 months ago, it was up to me to figure out when our next event's going to be, our next meeting, then book it, and then get it up and running, right?
Okay.
So 2 months ago, I went yesterday's date, the 22nd, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to book a meeting in Seattle Public Library as downtown Seattle as you can get.
Oh, no.
And then a week before our meeting, the co-chair hits me up and goes, you realize that this is the Bite of Seattle, this Taylor Swift concert. There's another game going on. All of this shit all at once. Cap Hill Block Party. You picked the busiest day possible in order to do this in the middle of downtown Seattle.
In the very middle, of the middlest point of downtown.
The absolute middle. If you just went on Google Maps and typed in Seattle middle, the very first thing that's going to pop up is that library.
In a city that's not great for any type of transportation that has wheels on the road.
Yep.
That's
why I have a horse.
Yeah, I mean, no country for old men, dude.
So we had you watch two very classic Proto-Slasher films.
Very cool, very classic Proto-Slashers.
I'm glad you like these.
Yeah, which, by the way, Proto-Slasher, band name dibs. I know there's already the Proto-Men, so I'll have to kind of go alongside.
They don't own the trademark of the term Proto. You're fine.
That's true.
And even then, that's based on a Capcom IP, so fuck them.
Yeah.
Come up with your own ideas.
I'm going to base mine on just the most legendary horror movie out there. So
there you go.
No, so, yeah, Psycho and Black Christmas were both... Psycho, I've seen before. Like, it's almost a comfort movie, even though it's like a horror movie. It's just like one of those, like...
Have you actually seen it, or have you just kind of like through cultural osmosis, like picked up on most of it?
Honestly, the only time I saw it was I took a film class in high school.
Okay.
And they showed it to me. But again, I wasn't watching it. I was watching it next to a bunch of my asshole friends, and we're passing notes, playing fucking probably what's that crazy one, the Subway Surfers,
Right?
Yeah. Because for whatever reason, the school district I was in decided to give kids iPads.
Oh, right.
And so all of us had iPads, and they just didn't restrict anything on them.
And you're like, oh, a movie's so boring. Time to watch TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. But I do remember like liking it, but now almost 10 years later, I have a whole new appreciation for it. So yeah, it was definitely a comfort movie for me. My wife and I made dinner and put it on, and it was like a full on like date
night.
isn't this great?
Aww.
You know, she
That's
did
so
not watch Black Christmas with me. I don't know if she would feel the same way.
Yeah,
but that was also way different than I expected. But you see, especially from some of the movies that we've already seen, I saw so many praises back, like so many callbacks back to Black Christmas, and then,
especially Halloween too. We'll get into it when we really talk about the movie, but yeah, it's like a lot of modern slashers really owe it to Black Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive right into it. Psycho opens up with one of the coolest, over-the-top, bombastic soundtrack opening like title scores ever.
Yeah.
And it somehow really sets the mood because it's just so... That soundtrack to me is like unpredictable is the best way to put it.
Totally.
And really sets the tone for the entire film because from there on forward, I don't know what to expect, right? Especially something that's like so bombastic and then all of a sudden ends with like a title crawl going into like this really calm, serene apartment building.
Yeah.
Where we go in on two people fucking.
Especially back in the 60s.
Oh
this
my
was
God.
racy.
Ooh, they were on the same bed.
Not just 60s, 1960.
1960.
This is pre-hippie.
Yeah.
This is...
Or I don't even know when the hippie movement was, but I'm pretty sure this movie's 1969.
Oh,
which is nice.
Nice. Well, IMDb says 1960.
1960?
Yeah.
You're right, 1960.
So not as nice.
Negative nice now.
Yeah.
Who's the real professor here?
AI.
Exactly. So 1960, this movie starts. This is pre-hippie movement, as you were saying.
Yeah.
And now there are people fucking.
Yeah.
At least they've already fucked. You don't actually see the fucking. She's already has her bra on.
Yeah. And we learn very quickly that it is adulterous. They're not just hooking up, doing whatever. The guy's got someone he's trying to leave. And this girl, especially to 1960 standards, is just like...
a homewrecker.
To the fullest extent. But also totally a bad bitch. But we'll get into that.
We'll get into it.
Goes on. But yeah.
So obviously, like, at this point, you have seen everything. There's no way that, like, an opening scene where we have a couple post-coital is actually shocking or anything like that. But
not in Year of Our Lord 2023.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen everything at this point, right?
Yeah. Like ISIS beheading, let's do it.
Let's do it, yeah. Not my proudest fat, but I was there. But like I like these little scenes because it gives our characters exactly that character.
Yeah.
They're in a very human, flawed situation.
Yeah.
And you can't help but judge, you know what I mean? Of just like, oh, these are some bad choices that led up to this moment.
Especially, like, this is still the remnants of the Greatest Generation. This is, like, 13 years after World War II, 15 years after World War II. And so just socially, the implications that this had, especially in the time period, like, nowadays you can't do it through the laundry list of crazy presidential scandals that have happened, like, past then. So it doesn't even, like, register. But, yeah, back then, this would be, like... you walking in, well, I can't even say pastor anymore because just everything nowadays just doesn't.
You'd be shocked you walking on your pastor not molesting kids.
Right?
Yeah.
So like,
you open up the door and he's just sweeping the floor. Like, oh my God.
He's actually doing pastor things.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
But yeah, so there is like an extra layer of like disbelief that you have to put, especially walking and moving in the modern age, but. Putting yourself back in 1960, this is as punk as it gets.
Yep.
Like this is the Animals, this is the Yardbirds, and this is pre both those bands.
Exactly. Yeah. Marion, I believe is how you pronounce her actual name.
Yeah. Marion.
Okay. Good. I was having trouble understanding that. I don't know why I couldn't like process it. Every single time I watch this movie, I'm like, what's her fucking name? Marion?
Yeah, and this is still the era where they're speaking English, but they're doing this.
They're talking funny, like it's still the radio.
Quick, I need to project my voice for the theater.
So we have Marion and we have Sam. Do you recognize Sam's last name?
Sam
Loomis.
Ah.
Cool callback, right? Dr. Loomis being... Michael Myers' shrink
Really?
Yes.
That's cool. No, I did not notice that off the bat, but that's a really cool tie-in.
And I believe there are people out there who try to argue that it's the same character.
Really?
Yes.
That's
But we're not going to get into that discussion. So we have Mr. Sam Loomis, who's like, I'm trying to leave my bitch wife. I want to just stick it into you forever. I can't, though, because I have so much debt.
Yeah.
It's just going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And then our main character, Marion, being the bad bitch that she is just like, I will solve all of these problems. You keep dicking me down like that for the rest of my life. I will take care of everything for us. Don't worry.
whatever you need.
Exactly.
Sandwiches at 6 a.m., sandwiches at 6 p.m. You got it.
She is down bad for this girl, which I think is the real moral of the story of this one, is never let you get that down bad for anybody.
Yeah. If you're out there struggling with finding love, please don't jump into just the first thing you get.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Well, doesn't work out great for her though. So
And it
you
won't
might
work
be
out
fine.
great for you.
Oh yeah.
But I love the scene since it does do such a great job of like establishing characters. Like you already feel for everybody's situation in relatively small amount of time.
Yeah.
And it moves on to our next scene, which is her going into work after getting absolutely plowed. Coworkers like, why are you limping so hard?
I don't need coffee this morning, please. I'm all good.
I'm all good.
Yeah.
I've already gotten my morning jitters. I am great.
Yeah.
So in comes the most obnoxious man possible with a cowboy hat on. And he's like, guess what? Here's like $40,000. I'm just going to turn the other way, and whatever happens, happens.
He's trying to buy a house in cash, and he's got the cash, and he's proud of it. And he is just bragging, being all braggadocious.
Wearing a sign that basically says, please rob me. If you steal from me, I won't even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marion's crafty.
Mm-hmm.
I like Marion.
I love her, yes.
Yeah. Ultimate punk rocker before punk rock was like a thing. But
Back to Halloween, too. You know who plays Marianne. You know who her daughter is, don't you?
no.
You don't know this for real?
No.
That is the mother of one Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's the mother of Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes.
No way. I did
Yes
not know
way.
that. Huh. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No,
That's
it does
badass.
not. It's so cool.
Yeah. Huh, the more you know.
Exactly, yeah. I don't even remember the actress's name off the top of my head, and I'm too lazy to Google it right now, but also, like, that's the only role that I can think of that she's in.
Janet Leigh. Yeah, and even that's funny. Even part of her, I guess she was in a Halloween movie with her.
Oh, cool.
With Jamie Lee, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it looks like after Psycho, was a lot of coasting.
Same. I would do the exact same. I hope she got paid a lot of money for that movie.
That's the 1960s as a woman, so she got at least $500.
Maybe even then.
Yeah.
I doubt anybody on the cast made that much back then.
No. Although, speaking about money off the bat, you know, Hitchcock couldn't get this pitch to the studios, so he funded it all himself for I believe it was 60% return, and that is by far the most successful thing that Hitchcock ever did.
All right.
And also the biggest mistake that the studios ever just let down, because for whatever reason they weren't trying to have, like, pitch a scary movie, and Hitchcock's like, no, I really have this idea. So the moral of the story, folks, is fund it yourself.
Just make it on your own terms.
Yeah. But also, it's probably nice if you have like a $25 million bank account that you could just fund everything.
A little
with.
bit,
But
yeah.
Potato, dude.
And your own like TV studio production crew that you can work on with it, yeah.
Hop in Mark Cuban's DMs and see if you can Shark Tank him good enough.
Exactly. Hey, I got a great idea for this movie.
Yeah. Don't you worry, dude. So there's a girl. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyways, so our main character has a big sack of cash just plopped right in front of her.
Yeah.
And the guy doing that is just like, you could just take this. I wouldn't even notice, Gerhuck. I'm so stupid.
Dude, and Marion the whole time is just not losing eye contact with him. Like, not looking at the cash, not showing your cards whatsoever. Just, this is what I'm doing.
I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
And so she does what any absolute baddie would do in her situation, which is steal that shit.
Steal it.
Just steal it.
Actually, also pulling ourselves back to the difference of 1960 and 2023, what's freaking wild is he had the $40,000 because he was trying to buy his daughter a home as a wedding present with cash. And she saw it and goes, this is a life-changing amount of money. I have to go and I have to steal it and I have to run away. And now in 2023, you cannot buy a house for $40,000, but it's still a life-changing amount of money that anyone would steal.
That anybody would steal, yeah.
And go straight off Route 66 for it.
I could probably make a down payment on my apartment after all that.
Yeah. It buys me 5 years in Mexico.
Yeah. You can go get a value menu at McDonald's.
Yeah. But yeah, she immediately skirts out of there, and I don't think she waited at all, and just gets on the road, swaps a car.
She got that cash, looked at it, and went, "This is mine now."
Yeah. But also, as badass and as sly and privy and everything that she was, jumping in trying to get the cash, she wrote the book on how to look shady while she had the cash. She made every wrong move to not look like something's up her sleeves. It was hilarious.
She bolts, immediately runs into her boss.
Yeah.
In the crosswalk after she's like, "I'm gonna go that way and only that way. Don't worry about me."
Yep.
Immediately goes that way and sees her boss at the crosswalk. Vrooms right off, ends up falling asleep on the side of the road, where we end up getting a very uncomfortable situation with a police officer showing up.
Yeah, and the police officer's not really in the wrong either. He's just trying to make sure that this woman in the 60s is safe from being alone, because, I mean, when did women get bank accounts? 1974.
1993.
Yeah. So this was culturally, if she can't even open up a bank account without a man's signature.
Oh my God.
So of course the cop is just going to be like, "What are you doing? Why are you alone? What's going on? Where's your chauffeur, man?"
Were women allowed to drive? 1900.
Oh wow. They're progressive on that.
I guess
not
so,
with the
yeah.
bank accounts.
You could drive a car, but you couldn't. How do you pay for your own car if you're a woman back then?
I bet you that the only reason why that's a thing is because they're like, husbands probably shouldn't travel drunk, so that's definitely the women's job.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a sec. When was Prohibition?
I think it was the mid-1920s.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm not even going to Google on that. Who cares? All right. Gets pulled over by a cop.
Yeah.
This is very uncomfortable, the way that it's shot. Because it's very close-up shots on the cop's face with these black, just soulless,
jet black cop glasses.
Cop glasses, right?
Yeah.
And watching it again for this podcast, I was looking at that and got Terminator 2 vibes.
That's a great call. I was totally thinking the liquid metal monster. Yeah.
Completely different movie if he would have just pulled out a photo and went, "Have you seen this boy?"
I think Wayne's World did a bit on that.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, again, this is where her shadiness just totally starts. Where she's like, "No, it's totally fine. Don't. It's all good." When it's like, maybe if you just would relax a little bit and been like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, my sister's having a baby out there and I got to go take care of it while I make food for them. This is womanly duties. Don't worry about me, just peacing out." But instead, she tries to swap a car in the worst way that I've ever seen someone try and swap a car.
Pulls up, pays cash, leaves the entire time while that cop is still watching her.
Just obviously watching her too. And her just go, no, I need it, please, this right here. And it's like, well, we have all the previous info. This is not a leapfrog you're doing. This is a straight line. We're watching you do it.
Yeah.
I was cracking up on that scene, and even my wife was like, "Wow, were we really that stupid in the '60s?" I was like, "Don't say that." No.
That was her saying that, not us. Yeah.
No.
She can say that. She's a woman.
Yeah.
She gets the W pass. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say we're assholes. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Been that way for a minute. Still are.
So she's driving, and then finally we get to the iconic Bates Hotel.
Bates Motel.
Let me get caught up on my notes here. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the movie really starts to, start.
Yeah.
In my opinion, yeah. Because the scenes here that we get with Norman Bates in the opening are my favorite parts of the movie.
He made me feel so creeped out.
Yes.
The whole time.
The whole time. Not even during a scene we'll talk about here in a little bit, but as soon as he's on camera, we can just kind of tell that there's something a little off about this guy.
Yeah.
And I think that really goes to show like Anthony Perkins' talent as an actor.
Absolutely. Every time he opened his mouth and was kind of like fluttering around or whatever, I was like, if Batman was what it was now, he would have been the Joker.
Yeah.
He would have been that like off-colored, like, yeah, no, it's totally fine. Just like
Even more like the Riddler or something like that. Just the really like too socially awkward to even exist as to anything besides a supervillain.
Yeah. I have one goal in life, and it's to stop the man.
Yeah, and it's like the Joker has like confidence, whereas Norman Bates definitely doesn't.
True.
So he'd totally be like Scarecrow or some other villain of the week type shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love how as his mom and him are getting in a fight, you could just totally hear that it's like, you know, everyone knows someone like this where they're a grown-ass man, and then you hear him talk to a like maternal or paternal figure.
Yep.
And then just have it just totally shut down. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best at that either. Whenever, because like at 27 years old, it's hilarious when I'll like talk to an adult and then realize that like we're on the same playing field, but I still like, oh, it's 40-year-old, like, oh, sorry sir, whatever. And it's like, no, wait, I'm you now, it's fine. Like,
You gotta cut that shit out. You gotta
Definitely
always,
do.
because like an older person will try to be like, oh, I'm older, I have more knowledge than you. If you threaten them with violence, they immediately bow their head.
that's all you have to do.
That's all
is
you got to
threaten with
do.
violence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take it from somebody. I'm 33 now, right? When I have to interact with people in their 40s or 50s or whatever, be at the grocery store,
Yeah.
they're like, can I go ahead of you? I only have 2 items. I'll be like, I will fuck you up if you even look at me. Yeah. And they back off.
Can you go ahead of me? I don't know. Can I shove this behind you?
Yeah, can I shove this in your fucking head?
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah. Stupid dummy trying to buy 2 items. I got 54 in the cart. You think I want you to wait for you? God, stupid.
And now when I interact with people that in like their 20s who are way younger than me and way more active, then it's the exact opposite. I'm just, oh, go ahead, sir. It's fine. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, like actually, I can see your abs through your t-shirt. You can
go on right through.
Yeah.
I can tell you're not struggling to stand up because your knees are going out. Go. You could probably kick right through me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting seeing how Anthony Perkins really tries his hardest to come across as like very polite in this, but he's so off-putting by doing it.
Super scary.
Like you can tell it's fake.
Yeah.
Like he's just doing this because this is just something that like a parent taught him to do, and that's the only reason why he does it. And he doesn't know why he's trying to be polite. He just is.
Yeah.
It's just so inhuman.
It's like my dog. Whenever I come home, she runs up to the gate. But whenever I open the gate, she knows to go halfway down the stairs because I don't want her to run out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's that total Pavlovian response where I put the gate up and just look at her, and she's like, yeah, whatever. Like.
So we get a tour of the hotel. Mm-hmm. We get to the hotel room. And then we get to my favorite scene, which is Norman invites her into his like study area for some sandwiches for dinner. Because that's the only thing he knows how to make is a sandwich.
Yeah. I got bread and I got hopefully not expired
I got some
products.
stuff to put in between it, and that's all I know how to cook.
And she's trying so hard to just be nice and just like to try and maybe she was finally thinking, hey, I've been shady for 24 hours. Like I should maybe not say my real name, maybe just get to know him and then be out the next morning. And no, the whole thing is just so awkward, especially as Norman brings her sandwiches and it's like, eat, I'm not hungry. And it's like, I don't know if you've ever, well, probably not been around a woman, but that's not how they work. They do not eat.
You can't eat in front of them. Yeah, they can't eat in front of you.
They will not. You have to eat when you're not hungry just to make sure that they're not malnourished.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. That's how it works.
You ever get like dinner with a woman, you have to go like this just to make sure they don't feel embarrassed.
Yeah. You have to take a bite and then look this way. And then like
it's like trying to get your pet to eat. You just be like, it's so good. Yummy, yummy. Take a bite.
Oh, let me grab a bite of your food. No, you actually want it now? Okay. Like that's funny.
Really embarrassing story here. Mm-hmm. I went on a date a while ago, right? This girl had to be like 9 out of 10, way out of my league, right? And we get ramen together, and we are just chatting, and all of a sudden she tells me she doesn't drink water. And then I'm just an asshole to her about it, right? Like completely like, are you 5? Like, why don't you drink water? Oh, you don't like it because there's no flavor? It's delicious. Yummy, yummy. Drink. Yeah. And then she goes, well, actually, I have a pretty bad eating disorder, and I really don't like drinking water because it makes me feel bloated. Oh. And so I'm sitting there like, wow, I just made fun of a person with an eating disorder directly to their face about their food choices.
At dinner.
So there was no second date.
Yeah. yeah. Oof. I hope she's doing well, but also, I mean, you weren't wrong, dude. You can't survive not drinking water. Come on. Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry you feel bloated, but do you want to feel dead?
Wow, you were the first person I've told that that's actually said it with me on that story. That's weird.
I mean, yeah. Sometimes you gotta be a dick, but you also want the person to live.
Moral of the story: don't make fun of their food choices. You don't know what
no.
anybody's going through.
No,
but also, don't make them eat in front of you because they just don't like it.
Yeah. If you go out to dinner, don't get any food.
Mm-hmm. This is the most uncomfortable scene. Obviously, the most iconic scene of this movie is coming up, but to me, this is my favorite one. He's talking about how much like he hates his mother, but a boy needs his mother, and you get a real sense of like the fucking madness that's going on in Norman Bates' mind.
Yeah.
As she's just awkwardly staring at him like,
okay, thank you.
yeah, nice meeting you.
Yeah.
And it's, go ahead, sorry.
I'm pretty sure that nearly every woman on the planet has a story exactly like that, though, where they're like, yeah, sure, I swiped on this dude. Let's just go hang out for a little bit. And then it's just like relenting ping pong thoughts about the maternal struggle when just like, and she's like, okay, definitely got to go, man.
Yeah.
I bet this is even to this day relatable to especially anyone in like modern dating, how fast that everything goes. Like I bet that when dating girls watch it now, they probably link up so heavily with that to be like, girl, get the fuck out of there.
Leave.
Right now.
Just go.
Like,
yeah.
Like, that's when you call your friend and be like, no shit, she died. I got to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Mom, you're where? The hospital? I'm on my way. I'm so sorry. You were so nice. I gotta leave.
I gotta go. She's
That
sick
is
in
like such
Indiana.
a huge thing too. I've noticed of like when I tell dating stories versus like when girls tell me dating stories. Like, here's a story where I mildly embarrassed myself and it was kind of humiliating, right?
Yeah.
And to them, it's always a story of like, so I thought my life was in danger. And I really had to go.
Yeah.
And I had to wait until he was asleep to sneak out from underneath him.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah. It's fucked. I'm sorry, all women.
Seriously.
Please accept our apologies. I'm sorry the world sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's why I got married, so I can forever
Exactly.
apologize to one lady.
To just one, make her life horrible instead of all.
exactly. Be like, you only have to deal with me now, which is for better or for worse.
So, yes, this scene in particular, I love everything, the way that it's shot. Norman Bates is sitting in this corner just talking to her while there's like a stuffed hawk above him. You'll notice that
taxidermy was awesome.
Yes, such a good scene too. Just like if you already didn't feel like you were in danger just from the way that this guy's talking and what he's talking about, the dead animals around him are enough warning, right?
There has to be, right? There has to be just like, hey, this may be not a safe place. And meanwhile, you have and all this on
All
the
this
walls.
dead shit that's surrounding him.
Yeah.
Maybe you're next.
Yeah. It's not great.
Mm-hmm. But she ends up having a change of heart because it's here when she goes back to her room where she thinks she's alone. Mm-hmm. She decides that she's going to, the next day, get back in the car, return what's left of the money, turn herself in.
Well, I mean, she'll have to because she can't act like that for any more hours. So the shadiness is crazy. And she got a new car out of it.
Why is that?
Audio too. All right.
And in focus and towering over you like the fucking giant that I am.
Yes, sir. It's funny. It looks like it's
Yeah. Is that like a fixed perspective thing or what? I don't know why you're so short. Okay. What were we talking about?
Tinder bio.
Oh, yeah. Tinder bios. Okay. So it starts pouring down rain as she's just driving through, right?
Yeah.
And this is where she makes her fatal mistake because she sees this tiny little hotel by the road or motel. It's
Probably a motel.
Motel, right? Bates Motel.
The difference between a motel and a hotel is
You only get shot in hotels.
Maybe, but motels, the doors lead to the outside. Hotels, the doors lead to the hallways.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. We're going to start over completely. You ready?
Go.
So as she's driving through, she's kind of daydreaming about everything that could go wrong.
Yeah.
About if she returns home, getting arrested, returning the money, letting everybody in her life down.
Everything's heightened.
And it starts to rain. And here is where she makes the worst choice of her life because she pulls up to this tiny little motel on the end of the road called the Bates Motel. And here we're introduced to Anthony Perkins' most iconic character, Norman Bates.
Mr. Norman Bates.
Mr. Norman Bates.
Yeah. So frigid, he's like a wet cat in every single scene. Just like, oh no, did I do that? Oh jeez,
I'm Lord.
What did I do? He just feels like he's moving. Like,
it is a hard performance to watch from how uncomfortable he makes me.
yeah.
Just from the get-go.
Yeah.
He comes out, introduces himself, and you can tell already he's doing this really weird, like, fake politeness kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Of just like, I'm not actually polite, but this was how I was raised to be and told that I need to do stuff like this, right?
Mother said I need this.
Yeah, I need to just go through the motions of how mother taught me how to be a human,
Yeah.
where there's nothing human behind those eyes at all.
No.
So he's already creepy.
He's about as dead as all the taxidermy around his office.
Oh my God, we'll get to that part.
Yeah.
Jeez. He's creepy as fuck. He is one of the most off-putting characters around. And like, just him talking scares me more than seeing Jason Voorhees coming at me with the machete.
I mean, at least with Jason Voorhees, you know to run. With this guy, you're just like, I'm trapped into this, and I don't want to make any sudden movements because he might be a spider monkey.
He comes across as just like so docile and harmless. And you know if you just say like the wrong thing in front of him, he's going to snap immediately.
For sure. He's like my cat when I come home, but I try and pet him on the street. He doesn't want anything to do with me. At home, he's fine because he thinks he's safe. But
And it brings us to my favorite scene in this movie, which I know everybody always talks about, the famous, like, iconic shower scene.
of course,
But the scene building up to it first is, to me, the scariest part in this movie.
the sandwich dance.
Oh my fucking God. Do you want to come into my office for some sandwiches? Because that's all I know how to make is just put some shit in between bread and call it good.
It's all I have. We're the only people here, except for my mom, who does not want you in the house, and so
Who's definitely real.
definitely real, definitely also alive. But we have to have it in my office for no other reason other than, hi, how's it going? And let me give you sandwiches, and then not eat in front of you.
Yeah. That's going to be the worst part is she's just giving food, and then immediately he sits down and is like, no, I'll just watch. I don't have to eat.
There is... I will make whatever bet you want to say a majority of women everywhere. That is one of the worst things you can do, to try and be like, oh, here's comfortable. Why don't you eat in front of me while I watch you?
Yeah. No girl I've ever met actually likes having anybody watch them eat.
No. I mean, there's a few mukbangs on the internet, but those are
Other than
small,
that, that's the rare exception to the rule, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder where that comes from, too. You know what I mean?
Mukbangs?
No, I mean, I know where that comes from.
Yeah.
From me, since I'm gross. But, like,
Yeah.
no, that insecurity of just like, oh, I hate it when people watch me eat.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was, like, not something that I feel like nobody who would do that. Like, just push that on someone, you know? That's got to be, like, a learned insecurity, right?
Yeah, it has to be like unsure about like weight issues and just like looking a certain way and do like just.
Oh,
like,
it's just not girly. Not ladylike,
I
not
can't do
dainty.
that. No,
Unlike dudes who just will eat raw meat off of a table with no fork and knife.
and everyone's like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, that's fucking sick, dude. Can you do it again? Like, oh, but
yeah, like, I don't know, bro. Like, how does that happen? It was just, was there a teacher at some point who just saw a girl taking a bite of a snack and then went up to her? It was just like, girls don't eat, right?
yeah, you'll be single forever.
Yeah,
Dude,
forever.
I feel so bad for ladies everywhere.
Same.
And we are part of the problem. But,
We are the problem, no
we are,
doubt.
we are,
no,
yeah.
we're 100% the problem.
But you know what I don't have a problem with? Being the only one eating.
I'll eat in front of everybody. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she is in this office. Right away, you can tell everything is off because there's just so much taxidermy around him, which is just like it's such a brilliant use of cinematography, the way that the camera is pointed up at a slight angle at him. You see all of the stuffed animals around him. Everything about this shot screams, this man is dangerous. Don't be near him.
Do not do it.
But he himself is just sitting there talking about, well, I love my mom, and I gotta be there for her, even though she's sick and she's mean to me.
Yeah. Taxidermy for a serial killer is like a Wu-Tang Clan poster in a college dorm room.
Exactly.
You know you know exactly what the guy's gonna do. Yeah, right. I won't say it because we'll get blocked from YouTube, but get out that room.
Just leave. Go.
Yeah.
But they have a very brief conversation, and by conversation I mean Norman just trauma dumps on her the entire time about how much he hates his mom.
Which is what you want to do to all women that you just meet, because that's a great
That's
thing.
how you turn them on instantly, is just lay out all of your problems right then and there.
Got tons of issues. You look like you got everything together. Let me tell you. And by the way, we're the only two people here, so you have no choice.
You have no choice. There is no civilization between here and there, and your car's out of gas.
What a nightmare scenario, dude.
It's pretty horrible, yeah. I feel bad for her.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they couldn't get bank accounts until 74. They had to drive because their husbands were drunk. And now they just get cornered at everything because it's suspicious for any... Man, on behalf of dudes everywhere, ladies, I'm sorry.
When was drunk driving made illegal? Women couldn't get their own bank accounts until the 70s?
Yeah.
But they could drive in the 1900s.
Yeah.
The first state to adapt a law against drunk driving was New York, of course, the bring down capital of the world, in 1910.
1910?
Yep.
Well, I mean, at least a decade. They could have been faster, obviously, but, you know, with how the judicial
Congress,
system works,
yeah.
That's pretty quick.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your feelings, though, when you're watching this and you're seeing Norman just kind of unload on her and how all these little warning bells all kind of go off. And they at least did in my head when I was watching this again for the podcast.
Yeah. I was uncomfortable the entire time because this guy's character was way creepier than I remember it because, like I said, last time I watched it was just in high school. So, like, I wasn't picking up on it because I was about as weird as creepy as that guy was.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was just like, I don't know, dude. He seems like an all right guy.
I'm sure he's normal.
I got issues, too. I listen to Sum 41.
He's just misunderstood. He just needs a friend.
Yeah, exactly. But now, through some experience, I look back at that like, dude, that's not okay.
No.
That's not okay at all. And yeah, it is a crescendo of awesomeness where I can't remember off the top of my head where the soundtrack was sitting, but I do know that the soundtrack was entirely string instruments. And so even if it wasn't there already, it felt like a faint actual crescendo through the whole thing, just out of what you watching this guy fumble.
Yeah. So this leads into now our most iconic scene pretty much ever in any horror movie.
Ever. Bum, 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 bum.
Where she thinks she's alone, has a change of heart, decides, you know what, I'm going to get up the next day and I'm going to go give this money back and turn myself in, and whatever happens, happens.
Whatever happens, happens.
So, moral of the story, if you ever commit a crime, you got to full send that shit, no half send.
No. It's always in whatever movie. It's the guy that looks back and feels bad for 2 seconds. Like you. I'm sorry. In the town, there's no way Jeremy Renner could have been saved. You cannot do it. You got to let him go do the thing.
Exactly.
Ben Affleck, you do your thing, and yeah.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers. But yeah, in this shower scene, we all know what's going on. It's the most classic scene of all time. The soundtrack is the coolest thing ever. It should be everyone's text tone, just so we get a little creeped out every time someone hits us up. But it took 5 days. Did you know it took 5 days? Of course you know it took 5 days. I didn't know it took 5 days when I read it. And all I could think of was Alfred Hitchcock, you're probably a peeping Tom. Right? At least 2 days of that is a peeping Tom angle. I mean, it's 77 different angles, wild. 50 different cuts, wild. Especially when you're actually chopping film and everything. Like, that alone would have taken forever. But
yeah, 5 days to shoot and 9 months to edit.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, did you know the blood was chocolate syrup?
I did know that, yeah.
Yeah. He shot in black and white, so they're like, well, it doesn't have to be.
Just get away with anything.
Yeah.
I find it interesting because I remember reading about how, like, audiences at the time, when they saw that, obviously this has to be the most shocking experience of their life. The main actress of the movie has just been brutally murdered.
Yeah, something that didn't happen in the 60s.
No, and then I I read something along the lines of like the audiences at the time swore that they saw full nudity, that they saw a knife going into the body, that they saw all these things that just weren't there in the film. They swear it up and down. Oh, I remember. I was there. You got to see those big nip-nops getting cut off.
Those 1960s pointer titties.
Yep, those torpedoes.
Yeah.
Getting sliced in half.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because, no, after rewatching it, there is nothing than just like that and that and then that and then that. Which, again, 5 days, what are you doing? And but that had to have caused her so much trauma just in the shooting, not even talking about, like, what the scene meant at all. Apparently, the actress that played Marion refused to shower for the rest of her life and only took baths after that scene.
Or just bathed in general.
No, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't either. That's it. And certainly, I mean, she probably got some looks at Hitchcock just going,
yeah, that's more traumatizing, I bet.
For sure. Yeah. But
I can only imagine, like, the unused footage if that ever gets, like, found. And just going through it and seeing what's on there.
Hitchcock definitely has a special blend that's somewhere in the mansion, huh?
Oh, my God, probably. He's still alive somewhere in that mansion, I bet.
Yeah. But yeah, the most classic kill of all time, everybody knows it, and it still holds up to this day.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's only, like, two noticeable things that what's it called? Inconsistencies where the lack of blood, because they don't want to be too crazy when she's actually like fully murdered and like sitting down and like trying to reach for something, and how like there's no cuts, there's no blood, there's no nothing, but yet because of what you just watched, you still like your brain fills in that information for you. You know, it's like the Blair Witch Project whole thing and like what all these old movies go for where they don't show the bad guy. It's like, no, your brain has you. It can go that part.
It will do that for you.
Yeah. But then, but then when she like turned weird and falled, and like as soon as she fell out and everything. And now I could be just remembering this wrong myself, just like everyone that thought there was nudity. But I thought that she flipped from like one angle to the other, where she like landed on her back and then she was on her front or whatever. But I could be wrong.
We'll have to watch it again.
I guess so. Yeah.
I could have sworn there was a part where she pulls the knife out of her body and then tries to use it on the lady, but you know.
That's probably right too.
Yeah, that could be
or
right
maybe
too.
Maybe she took it and like licked her own blood off the knife and then
went
like
yummy and then threw it. Yeah.
Is that the Joseph Wilkie recreation?
How would like a modern remake of Psycho work? You'd have to have it to where a dude would be the one getting stabbed in the shower.
Yeah.
You'd have to flip that around.
You probably can't have a guy dress up as a girl anymore.
You could. You just got to be a little bit more tasteful about it.
Yeah.
Well, even then, like, I don't know. We'll get to the ending on that.
Yeah.
But let's see. What else could we do to make it even more modern? Make it modern, but also horrible. Because you just got to make it dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny is stealing $40,000 is still a worthwhile enough way to just leave. But I don't think anyone would give a shit about an affair anymore, so you'd have to amp that up.
Make it gay.
Yeah, definitely.
Super gay.
Super gay.
We got to figure out a way to still make gay taboo.
So, yeah, the only way then would be it's a
we'll say it on three. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Incest.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I thought we were just saying what we said before.
All right, cool. Make it gay. Make it okay. Maybe incestual is a little too far. We don't do that.
Yeah,
we gotta figure out how to make it gay and like make it like taboo somehow. Married man who's married to a woman, but fucking his side piece dude on the side.
Yeah,
and the dude is like young. Can we say twink anymore? Is that acceptable? I don't care. Fuck it. Cancel me, twink. Yeah. You make his thing like this little twink dude who's like 23, clearly on drugs.
Yeah.
Ends up coming across $40,000 somehow. We'll figure that out later. We don't need to write it at this point.
Yeah.
Steals the money, goes to the Bates Motel. Norman Bates has got to be... How do we completely change this to make it to where like, ooh, so modern?
We'll gender bend it. Norman Bates has to be Norma Bates now.
Norma Bates, right, yeah.
And it's got to be daddy issues, so she wears a lot of flannels.
We could do something pretty interesting with like daughter mommy issues.
That's true.
If you still make it the mom, right?
Yeah.
And how like she feels like she's never really lived up to her mom's expectations ever, despite being a girl boss who owns a hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. But mom still doesn't care because she's not married.
She's not married, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she finds a guy, and then she kills Mario because she's going to dress him up as her now husband, so her mom's okay. But she's a psycho.
Aha.
So it's not going to be alive. She's going to kill it, decorate it, and instead of bury it and throw the car out in the body like an actual psycho, she props it up and then carries it around on a little, what is it, a dolly?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's how mom gets, or that's how she gets accepted by her mom.
Yeah, I'm married
a
now,
husband.
Mom. I have my own business, and I'm married now.
But that would never even happen in real life because he was a gay.
There you go.
Yeah.
And his lover comes to find him. Ends up coming to Lady Bates Motel. That's what we'll call it.
Lady Bates.
Lady Bates, yeah.
Yeah. Good thing it's not Lady Bates Motel.
Because it's modern, we got to gender bend everything.
Yeah.
To make it original and cool, and definitely not just like the easiest thing possible to do.
Right.
Yeah. What else? How else do we just make this fucking terrible? Just give it a happy ending as a little stamp on the end there instead of, the bleak one that we got for this movie.
Yeah, so the ending is just a huge legal process where she fights to have her deceased husband actually because it's true love, and she falsifies some records on this is what he wanted when he was still alive. And so now it's a whole just court case where the guy where she wins because it's totally cool if she's married to a dead guy, and all this is because of mommy issues.
There we go. So we take Psycho and we turn it into a gender-bent legal drama.
Yeah.
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 That has to be the worst idea we could possibly come up with for a remake of Psycho.
One of them, for sure. Yeah. I'd just rather watch the Vince Vaughn one again. Like this.
You already have by watching
It's
the
never
original
good.
movie, so.
Yeah, but it's going to be better than our movie. Our movie sucks.
Our movie sucks.
But we sold it to Netflix.
We got the check.
Don't have a script yet, but.
And after this iconic scene happens, we get to the only down point in this film, I think.
Yeah.
And that's because I have brain rot, but it was pretty, I'm gonna use the word. It was pretty boring.
Yeah.
Watching him just clean for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
There was a part of me, and I knew this wasn't gonna happen, right? But there was really a part of me watching this again where I was thinking like, the rest of the movie is him cleaning up the crime scene, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what it seems like, for sure. And this is how bored audiences were back then, because they're like, well, yeah, what did he do with everything? And it shows him real time washing everything out, and they're like, yeah, I guess you gotta. Like, it'd be weird if you didn't.
Yeah.
And now we're like, no. Move. We need 17 cuts for just Liam Neeson jumping over a fence.
Yeah.
All right. Like, let's keep it going. Where's my iPad? I definitely felt like grabbing my phone around here too, but
it really could have been simple as just him grabbing the body, wrapping it into the shower curtain, and then cuts to him throwing the body into the trunk of the car and then throwing the car into the swamp.
Yeah.
And then we have more movie.
Yeah.
And this really felt like it was like 40 minutes of just like, all right, wrap up the body, and then I gotta wipe down the surfaces, then I gotta mop up all the blood and mop the floor.
Just be real
put
casual
the body in
about
the
it.
trunk, and then we gotta put the car in the thing.
Put the X into the Y axis and the B into the X axis, and then now your audience is asleep, Alfred.
There you go.
What the hell?
I mean, you did just traumatize them with like the most brutal murder in film history at that point.
That's true, but thinking about Hitchcock's film records, why? Like, it would have been way more interesting to see the dude from Rear Window who's wheelchair bound try and clean his house in a wheelchair than Norman Bates as a full able-bodied person. All right?
If only we had a way to talk to him, we could have warned him.
I say, dude, where was the scene in Rear Window? It did not need to be here. But you can't tell him that. He funded the movie by himself.
Exactly, yeah. We gotta hit 50 minutes somehow for this to be a feature film. Keep scrubbing the fucking floor.
This is not going on ABC.
Did you know that this was actually based on a book?
Really?
Yes, there is a novel that came out.
Oh, yeah. Yes. What was the book called again?
Are you ready
Uh-huh.
for the title of the book?
Yeah.
The book is called Psycho.
Course.
Yeah.
Goers. All right. Here's the thing I read about it. he bought the rights for the book for $9,500.
That's a good deal.
Right? And then he immediately started buying up all of the copies in all of the metropolitan areas that he could, just sending everyone out to go buy it, because as he's making this, he doesn't want anything spoiled.
Yep.
So he's just like, 9,500, that's pretty good for the rights, but we're going to have to tenfold that in buying the hard copies. So, like, I wonder what he had, or I wonder what he did with the truckload of Psycho books that, I wonder if he could
burn them.
Probably.
It's like a E.T., you know, that game that was like so terrible that got buried out in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched that documentary. That's pretty sweet. Which is crazy is that, wow, the novel came out in 1959, so this coming out in 1960 means he was working fast.
That must have been a good book.
Yeah.
It actually is. The major difference I remember from the book and the movie, because I've only read the book once, is that our main character ends up getting beheaded. Like, just her head's completely sliced off in the shower.
Damn.
Couldn't do that in 1960 on a movie. That was a little too far.
Yeah, no, you already had women driving that were single. So
Yeah.
you can't also have decapitation. It's about the same tier level for
Yep.
everyone. like, it's this, a sin is a sin.
You can't have too much going at once.
No.
Yeah, you want that R rating, not the X one.
Yeah, obviously. Let's be good here. We need to make some money.
Mm-hmm. So after the cleanup scene that took 9,000 years, we cut to a store. And inside that store is Marion's sister, Leela. Am I pronouncing that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Leela ends up confronting Sam, saying, hey, I haven't heard from my sister. I know you're into it or have something to do with it because I know that you two were involved sexually, which is taboo, disgusting. And she just fucking robbed a bro.
Yeah.
So you got to tell me where my sister is right now.
She robbed an oil baron for $40,000.
$40,000. That dude's worth $40 million. This is a real serious crime.
Yeah. And you already said that you're broke, so you're about to be broker if you don't help me figure it out.
You're about to go to prison for all of this for no reason. We're going to figure out a way how to. But as they're bickering, all of a sudden a private detective just kind of walks in and goes, hey, I was here to help find all this money. You're going to let me take over it here. To me, this is the point in the movie where you could really tell that this was the TV studio crew that's working on this film, because this looked like an old TV show.
It definitely played out like a play, like everyone kind of, not that you don't face the camera in modern movies, but this was so much like now our backs are to here, and then let's express right here, honey, you know.
Exactly, yeah. So they kind of like exchange notes a little bit and then figure out that the last place that Miriam went to, her name's not Miriam, whatever. I don't know, I'm tired, I don't give a fuck. The last place that she ended up going to is the Bates Motel. And so we get to see Norman Bates get confronted by a dude instead of just a helpless little girl who's trapped in all this shit. And watching his story just come unglued like a house of cards was so great.
Yeah. Yeah. He fumbled just like Marion did in the first part of the movie.
Yep.
I'm just like, yeah, sure. I mean, it was like bartering with an 8-year-old. Was watching Norman go like, no, there was no one here. Yeah, there was someone, but there was no one.
Oh, there was someone here, but I don't really remember them. Oh, but I actually ended up eating dinner with them. Oh, that girl. That's who you're talking about. Wow. Oh, easy to get all this confused.
Hardly remembered it.
Yeah.
It was the only person I've seen in a week, but I
just couldn't tell you. Yeah.
No idea. But,
bro, what the fuck?
I know. I should have. We'll edit that out. Just the same as the gay rants. Anyways. But the schizophrenic dialogue between Norman and his mother, when they show up to the Bates Motel again, you can hear him talking, and it just sounds like an early version of Institutionalized by Suicidal Tendencies.
Hell yeah.
She's like, no, Mom, I don't want a fucking Pepsi. No, you gotta drink a fucking Pepsi.
I just wanted a Pepsi, Mom. I'm not on drugs.
Yeah. But did you know the mother's voice was actually done by 3 different actresses? Each one's picked for like different sayings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hitchcock was a crazy person. Why
Just
he
a
made
little
it
bit.
so? Why the shower scene went 5 days? Why there's 3 voices for one voice is just. I mean, maybe to lean into the schizophrenia, I'll give him that. But you don't think that one of the actors you could have just horribly paid just one actor instead of horribly played 3?
I'll give you the real answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And it's only one word.
Okay.
Cinema.
Here I am. Corrected. It's all for the cinema, of course.
It's for the cinema.
It's for the cinema.
The cinema. That's why he was crazy and went above and beyond and did all this shit.
That's fair. You know who didn't do that? You know what I watched last night? World of Worlds, the Tom Cruise one. Big fan of a lot of that movie, except for the fact that Steven Spielberg really fucking took a backseat on directing the whole thing. The thing is entirely reaction shots with like intense buildups and like no visual payoffs. And
So the rest of this movie is basically the investigation as to figuring out what happened to our main character.
Yep, this is where the wheels are turning, and it is just a rat race on the property.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Our private investigator decides to go to the Bates Motel, and Norman Bates just tells the worst lie after lie.
Just bartering with an 8-year-old, fumbling like Marion from before. Just he is a very, very convincing psychopath, but this actually like adds to it in a sense of like, yeah, a psychopath has like a lot of things together, but then like they do break down like a child when they're like cornered. It's like, no, yeah, totally. This name I've read it once, sure, whatever. Okay, here. It's just bad.
So at one point, Norman's like, "Oh yeah, I just gotta go up the stairs. Don't worry, I'll be right back."
Yeah.
And our private investigator goes to follow him up, only to get stabbed to death by Mother.
Yeah, and kick down the stairs. That was a cool shot.
That really was.
That was a classic Hitchcockian like like kind of go on. But
I think that's how he explained it on set. He went up to the director of photography. Was like, "I need you to do this thing where it's like And the DP looked at him and was like, "Enough said. Got you on that one, boss."
Heard, Hitch. Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh man, yeah. I totally blanked. You go for it.
What are we talking about?
The guy died. He got stabbed down the.
Who am I?
Yeah. What? Huh?
Who? What? So then our 2 other characters are like, "We haven't heard back from this dude. Let's go to the sheriff. Maybe the police won't be useless in a horror movie for once."
Maybe we can go. It's one of the first ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But oh boy, do we find out. Yeah.
quickly.
Norman Bates. Wow, that boy's just sweet and gentle. He's so nice.
Don't worry. There's nothing bad that ever happened to him except for his mom was dated this horrible man that beat her and him and all this crazy backstory that you get dumped on. But surely that had no effect. This is 1960.
Oh, and you said you saw Norman Bates and his mother? Why, his mother has been dead for 10 years. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I almost think it's impossible to like go into this movie without knowing the twist at the end.
I mean, yeah, when I watched it for the first time, well, actually, I don't know if I knew it or not. I definitely knew the shower scene.
The shower scene for sure, but knowing that it was Norman the whole time?
Yeah.
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 Spoilers for the one Zoomer watching this who hasn't seen the movie yet.
Yeah. Which, by the way, just do it. Just do it. Get into classic films.
Yeah, there you go.
That scene where the chair turns around and you see the dead mother and just all this I remember that scaring me even in high school. Not actually like scary, like, oh my God, nightmare fuel, but I remember getting jolted, which is how much of a like normie, just unprepped
That goes to
dude
show how
that
good
I
of
am.
a prop that it was, though.
True.
Because holy fuck, that thing looks like a real dead body.
Absolutely. And now I get to look at fun facts through the movies and know that was just a swivel chair and just a prop guy underneath it going.
The rumor I heard was they had like 3 or 4 different variations of that skeleton.
Really?
And the one that they used was whichever one made that actress scream the loudest. And like, I don't know how much of this is just like bullshit playground rumors I heard in high school and still like pretend are fun facts, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But apparently like they would hide these skeletons around the set for her to find. And so it's just like she just opens up a fridge and then there's a dead lady in the fridge.
Oh, my
And
God.
since that's the one that made her scream the loudest, That's the one that they used at the end.
That's pretty metal. That is pretty metal. Hey, does this song make you cry the hardest? Cool. This is the one I'm putting on the album.
This is the one we're putting on.
Yeah.
So the jig is up. The sheriff knows now that Norman is a serial murderer. And we get what I like to call Dr. Exposition to kind of tell us everything that's been going on here this
ending
entire
rant?
time. That ending rant, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, I get this is a very, what's the term? Something like this has probably never been done leading up to the 60s, right?
Yeah.
A guy dressing up like a girl, ooh, taboo, whoa, scary. But the doctor sits down and basically explains, like, Norman is now two people, his mother and himself. He's crazy. He dresses up as her and kills people because he wants to, I guess.
But this whole dialogue is way more like, now, I've never seen anything like it. And it was
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, see?
I mean, the dialogue was a bit ridiculous because it's kind of, I mean, like, it's good because it explains everything, but also, like, I'm sure that with the time constraints and Hitchcock filming it himself, like, there's a lot that maybe he wanted to tell that he's just like, all right, let's just wrap it up with this, like, massive dialogue in the end. And I could listen to this all day, even though, like, maybe the content of itself is not as, like, what you want it to do. I could listen to old school movie rants all day. In fact, I want to start a music genre where it's like theatrical beats and old school movie rants just for people to fall asleep to.
All right. Start that.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting, but I totally blanked that out from my memory the first time I watched it. I could not remember how the movie wrapped up at all because I really only remembered, like, the murder and then the chair turning, and then I was like, oh, what does happen? And then I did remember last second of the face going back and forth between Norman and his mom, but the rant was unfortunately, I guess, forgettable, but also I liked it a lot. Just right at the end there, just give me the rest of the information real quick and cool.
I'm one of those types that doesn't really like exposition a whole bunch. You can use world building to tell a story and not just info dump on me, right? Then again, 1960, talking on some very taboo subjects. Yeah. A lot of this shit had never been heard of before outside of, like, Ed Gein. And this was before everybody was a true crime podcaster. So, like, you had to be a fucking sicko to, like, find these newspaper clippings about that case and hunt it down. Yeah.
Right. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, they had a lot less serial killings in the 1960s, or at least publicized as it is right now.
Publicized as is, yeah.
Yeah, now we get, like, one a year.
One a day.
Yeah.
True crime is the coolest shit ever, I bet. So, one of my favorite shots in this one is Norman Bates is by himself in that interrogation room. Mm-hmm. And, you know, switching back between Norman's voice and Mother's voice. And all of a sudden, he gives the most creepiest stare directly into the camera. And for 5, maybe a little bit longer seconds, there is a brief overlay of a skull on his face.
Yeah.
And then it fades to the car being pulled out of the mud pit that it was thrown into, and roll credits, and that's Psycho.
That's such a cool ending.
Tell me your thoughts, feelings about Psycho.
Honestly, it was a comfort movie for me. I love the classic feel. I love, like, I don't know, old movies. Like, it's just one of those things that was playing in the house growing up, and it's a comfort factor. And it's whether or not it's Psycho or like a Western, like everything from the era kind of like has similar feelings, especially from today's. The subgenre game is mad crazy,
right.
You know. But back then, everything was a little bit more like condensed. So this is from an era that I super appreciate, and I mean, it's a classic for a reason.
Exactly.
It is just one of those, like, if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. If you haven't seen it in, like, 10 years, watch it again. It's really, really cool. And do yourself a favor and put yourself back in 1960 and pre-everything. Because, again, we think of the 60s as peace, love, and everything, but this is pre-hippie. 1960, there is not the long-haired purple people eaters, all right?
Yes.
This is still very much the greatest generation kind of ruling the shit before their kids took acid for the first time.
Yeah.
You know? But I really like it. I've, like I said, seen it before, but it's one of those, like, it just deserves to be taught in schools like it was.
Like it was. I literally had to learn about this in film school, yes.
Yeah. So from you watching it right now to the first time that you watched it, what's the biggest differences, or like mentally did anything change for you?
Yeah, I'll never forget first time watching this was like on some weird like on-demand Comcast service thing when I was like a preteen pretty much, right?
Okay.
And like all I had known about it going into it was lady gets stabbed. Like that's it, right? And for whatever reason I thought that was how the movie ended.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so
Miriam gets 15 minutes.
Yep. And so it was a pretty huge shock to me trying to stay awake during that beginning part because, again, preteen, I'm used to Power Rangers and flashing colors and bright lights and explosions every 10 seconds, right?
There's no dueling guitars in the soundtrack. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Just get to the murder part. God.
Yeah.
And it did get to the murder part, and I was like, wait, I thought that's how the movie ended, and there's still a movie going on? What?
Yeah.
And so then having to watch it again in film school, it just felt robotic to me having to watch it then because I'm not trying to enjoy the movie. I'm trying to like break down like why it worked.
You're trying to get an A in the class. You're not exactly,
yeah. It was a homework assignment. It wasn't really like
definitely takes the passion out of it.
Yep. But it was cool getting to learn like the process of how that was made, like the amount of passion that went into getting something like this made.
I mean, Hitchcock funding it himself says everything I need to know of like this was one of his passions, and you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And also just financially, kudos. That really like that set him up. That set his grandkids up. That set his great grandkids up. Like
there's somebody out there somewhere still making money off of the movie. So
oh yeah. And
unless you're like me and you watched it on archive.org, because that's where I watched it. I did not feel like paying to watch this movie again.
No. He's made enough money. I think I don't think he'd care. But did you know Hitchcock was so protective of the ending not getting out and no spoilers whatsoever? Because I mean, I already said he bought the books and he bought all those just so that doesn't get spoiled. But also, he made a cardboard cutout of himself and installed it in the lobbies of all the theaters playing and said you cannot go into Psycho if you're more than like 10 minutes late.
Yep.
And so that way, no spoilers, no nothing. Like, sorry, kid. Good thing movies are only 25 cents. Like, you can just come back tomorrow.
That's half a day's pay.
Yeah. It's true.
Did you know that there are 4 Psycho movies?
Really?
Yes.
I only know of the Vince Vaughn and the OG. What are the other 2?
There is Psycho 2, 3, and 4.
I lied.
We talked a lot about like sequels and how they all went like downhill after a while.
Yeah.
I would say out of all of the franchises that I have seen, Psycho 1 through 4 are the most consistently good horror films.
Really?
Yes. Obviously, like the first one changed the game forever, right?
Sure.
So you can't release 4 movies in a row that just changed cinema forever, right? But as far as acting goes, as far as cinematography goes, as far as just like what makes a movie fucking good and fun to watch.
Yeah.
All 4 of them nail it and nail it really good.
Damn.
2 and 3 specifically are really enjoyable to watch because they are able to nail what makes Norman Bates such an interesting character. Anthony Perkins revises his role as Norman Bates throughout all the films.
Damn.
And brings his fucking A game into all of them.
That's incredible. And I just pulled it up here because I'm saving him to my IMDb to watch later and sponsors. And Anthony Perkins actually directed the 3rd one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's incredible. Psycho 4, dude. All right.
So those are like underrated gems. It's really weird trying to say that like Psycho is an underrated franchise when obviously it's like one of the most iconic horror films ever.
But I didn't even know they had 3 sequels.
Yes, 3 sequels. 4th one's a little weird, but 2 and 3 are great. Like I wouldn't say I like them as much as, but in terms of quality, there's no just like nosedive where they're just trying to make something as a way to like make money.
There's no Norman Bates in space.
There should be.
I mean, let's fund this right now.
Right now, yeah.
All right, what would the Norman Bates in space movie be?
It would be a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho in a sci-fi setting.
All right. So like kind of Mos Espa, just a grimy, like something going up, someone's running away, ends up in
guy stole like 40,000 Mars bucks and has to get off of Mars, pulls into like this really shitty planet.
Yeah. Dagobah.
Mm-hmm.
and then goes, what do we need? And then Norman Bates is actually kind of a Yoda character and goes, oh, I'll take care of you. There's nothing here. Totally safe. Don't you worry.
It actually just is Yoda.
Yeah.
Same puppet, because Disney now owns the rights to Psycho, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Statistically, if they don't, they'll have it in 10 years.
In 10 years. Yeah. You know what? That's my remake pitch. Let's do Psycho, but with Muppets.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Muppets in space or just regular Muppets?
Both.
Okay.
Gotta have both.
I'll take it.
Muppet Space Psycho.
You need both.
You need both. Any other thoughts, feelings on this film?
No, I mean, it's hard to say anything else about a classic of this caliber, but right after watching it, it's not related to horror, but just related to Hitchcock, is I immediately wanted to go back and watch Rear Window and Vertigo and like all the other movies.
All of his classics.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like, sure, he's everyone knows who he is, but it's one of those like, oh, you're great for a reason. I mean, like, the Beatles are wildly overrated and over talked about, and just everyone, like, it's just so tiring to hear people rant about.
Which band?
The Beatles. Who?
Yeah, who? I've never heard of those guys.
But then, of course, if you're kind of stoned and you listen to Sgt. Pepper or Rubber Soul and just have both headphones in and go the full length through the album, you're like, God damn, this is good. And
Maybe this is decent, yeah.
Right, and it's the exact same thing with Hitchcock, where it's like, yeah, he's great or whatever. Then you watch one of his movies and you're like, oh, because even the intro credits, the way that the intro credits were in this movie were groundbreaking, especially for 1960. And just it felt computer oriented when you know that, I don't know how they did it, but it wasn't ran through a processor. Magic. It had to be magic. That's why witches were burned in Salem in the 1600s, because I just don't understand how cool
From the witch ashes arose Alfred Hitchcock.
yeah. His tubby fucking... Man, yeah, he's not a good-looking guy, and that's coming from a dude who is also fat as hell. So.
I'm also shitty-looking, so, good for him.
Yeah. Alfred, thanks for holding it down for all of us uggos.
Yeah. Proving that we're all not sex perverts trying to just make movies about hot chicks in the shower, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm so glad that I'm not a director in that case, because there's no female that if I'm like, I really need you to play this part, but...
You're going to take your shirt off for the scene, goddammit, you're going to like it!
Yeah. No nipple pasties. Did they even have pasties in the 60s?
Did they even have nipples in the 60s?
No. Well, yes, but they were just...
I don't know, because I haven't seen them because it didn't exist on film.
When was the first Playboy magazine?
1808, done with painting.
Yeah. But yeah, Psycho's cool. Go watch it if you haven't.
You can definitely see how it influenced everything.
Yeah.
That's come out since.
Yeah. I mean, do you consider this a horror movie?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because I would too, but I can totally see how it's argued on either end of the spectrum when it's like. It's, sorry to use it as an example again, but it's when people go, Helter Skelter is a metal song. And it's like, whatever. But then you put yourself in 1964 or whatever, and you're like, actually, yeah.
Yeah, the song's about devil worship. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. It actually was.
I mean, 1964, yes, but take it out of that context. There are more scenes than just that shower scene that make it a horror film.
Yeah. Like,
there's watching Norman trying to interact with other people, and that itself is freaky. Like, the favorite scene of that movie is just fucking terrifying of him trauma dumping on her about how much he hates his mom.
Yeah.
While she's just trying to eat her little sandwich.
Yeah, please.
And you could just tell the entire, like, it's so uncomfortable.
That's a really good point. And just him bouncing around the house and just the slow shots of when the detective actually goes there. They're just trying to decide. Yeah, no, it's very, very suspenseful in a way that isn't just like, oh no, or is the car going to get off the tracks at this time? No, it's a different kind of spookiness.
So let's transition now to our next film.
Okay.
Because the DNA of the slasher is definitely in Psycho, whereas one could make a case for plagiarism in some points here about Black Christmas.
Yes.
And now you did watch the original, not the remake, right?
I did.
Okay, good.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
I should have told you to watch the original.
Yeah.
Black Christmas starts off with this amazing POV shot of this, like, you fucking watched the remake, didn't you?
No?
Okay, good.
No,
All right,
no.
you were giving me this face like, I don't remember that.
No, definitely.
Okay, good.
1974.
1974, Black Christmas, before Halloween. Get this. It opens with a POV shot of a fucking creeper outside of a house peeking through a window.
I wonder where I saw that before.
Where have you seen that before, even though it happened in a movie that came out way after this one?
Way after. That's way more popular and kind of crazy.
But you know, it's almost as if the POV is a very useful tool for horror.
It's nice. It's unsettling, and it puts you immediately in that mind. And the breathing is the creepiest thing ever, and it happens a lot. Like a lot of the POV shots also come with breathing, and that's almost too much for me.
It's a rule. If you're gonna do a POV shot, you can't have them just breathing normal. They have to sound like Darth Vader.
Go smoke 2 cigarettes, run around the block, and then come here.
And then POV of just. So we're outside of a dorm house in unknown USA, even though the whole movie is filmed in Canada. Mm-hmm. And we see our stalker just go up to this building and sneak in during a Christmas party. And it is almost shocking, like 1-to-1, how this is with Halloween.
Yeah. It gave me those vibes immediately. But luckily, instead of just like a couple and a sister, where that whole thing is, it's a bunch of nameless sorority girls, which now we're a little bit more progressive. We're not 1960, it's now 1974. Hippie revolution has started. Now you can hate the broad. It's
Only hate them because they're annoying, not because they're women.
No.
Otherwise, that would just be bad.
Of course. But actually, the most hateable one was also my favorite. I loved the crazy drunk girl.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah. Oh, God, what's her name?
I believe that
Barb.
was... Yeah,
Margot
Barb.
Kidder, who also played Supergirl.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good for her.
I know. And apparently, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but if you know anything about Barb in this movie, she is a drunk who will not watch her mouth whatsoever, and she is a loud and proud college girl. And she, I guess in her contract was like, oh, well, if I'm playing a college girl, like I'm going to have to be drunk because like all sorority girls are drunk anyways.
And I'm a method actor, so I'm going to need that to be real alcohol.
Apparently, she was so hammered on the set all the time that like all of the rants and all of that was just real. And she caused a lot of problems on set, apparently with everyone else, just because everyone else was just like didn't want to deal with her. But I mean,
let that be a sign to every aspiring actor out there: show up drunk.
Show up drunk.
Show up drunk.
Do you know why? Because you know what I didn't see. I didn't see
a bad performance.
I did not see a bad performance.
Exactly. She was excellent. And like the most memorable part of this movie and my favorite part of it, honestly, I could fix her. That's all I was thinking the whole time I was watching it.
Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yeah. I could fix her.
Yeah, don't worry. Just put the bottle down a little bit. We'll talk through your problems.
Yeah. What if we just didn't go through a whole day without drinking? You ever think of that? Just the two of us hanging out, huh?
No, she definitely did not. But yeah, this is set in Nowheresville, USA, even though it's in Toronto.
Even though it was filmed in Toronto.
Also, just before even kicking it off, the funniest bit that I read was it blew up in Canada and did very, very well. But when it got its American release, they wanted to change the name to Silent Night, Evil Night, because Black Christmas sounded too much like a blaxploitation film, which were hugely popular at the time. So they didn't want to go and like kind of fake that market. So they just changed the whole thing and made it more Christmas themed or more just trying to get out of that light.
That's such a bad idea. Come on.
Black Christmas is a great name. Yeah.
It's a great name,
it's not
number one.
Blackula.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be a myriad of different things.
And you know what? If it creates a more diverse audience just through confusion, then who cares? That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Inclusivity.
I like that shit. Unironically, it's good.
Yeah.
So we get our POV shot of this dude climbing into a house. It cuts to this party that's going on with just some of the ugliest people I've ever seen. If there is like one thing I really miss about 70s cinema is that like everybody looked like a freak.
It's true. There was not this diehard, like, we all need to look perfect. Let's get that plastic surgery where we suck a little bit of fat out of our cheeks just because we can't work out these crazy muscles. And just, like, this crazy chase that happens with all actresses now where, like, I mean, even as a kid, when I was watching that show, Ugly Betty, as a kid, I was even like, I don't know, I'll date her.
I still would.
Yeah. Like, what the hell is going on here? But no, back then, there's this, what's the word? Homesteaders. Just real small town girls. Right?
I mean, not just the girls, the dudes, too. Everybody in this movie was looking fucking wrecked, which I liked. But also, I miss freaks.
They could have just been Canadian.
There's also that,
Yeah.
Birth defect,
Yeah.
They get a phone call in the middle of the party because this is when landline phones were still a thing.
Yeah.
And picks up, and it's just a dirty sex pervert moaning into it, which I think sets the tone for this film pretty well.
Definitely. And the voices on the phone, I guess, I don't know why, the director must have been another crazy person just like Alfred Hitchcock.
You literally have to be psychotic if you want to make movies.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Like, I guess you can feel the same way about anyone in the arts now that I think about it. Like,
yeah.
I know a lot of musicians and
psychopaths.
Two cool ones.
Would actually kill you if it meant getting ahead in their career. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not excluding either of us.
Exactly.
But I guess in order to record all the phone calls, they went to such extreme methods of like really running around the house and doing whatever, and then also like screaming upside down, like hanging upside down, screaming into the mics, doing like that kind of, and then even then, all the sounds were either sped up or slowed down or whatever. So it's just real mental schizophrenic mayhem.
Yes,
to the fullest extent, and it worked. It sounds.
It
exactly
worked
like
because man, those phone calls really were freaky.
Yeah, uncomfortable as hell.
And of course, poor Claire is just like, I don't really like this shit. I'm just gonna go upstairs and leave this party once and for all. Everybody have a good night.
Yeah, she has a meeting with her dad tomorrow. She wants to get a little bit of sleep.
She just wants to get some sleepies in, and she's gonna sleep forever,
ever and ever. Bag over the head, drug up into the old attic. Gets sat in a rocking chair and is now just a Christmas hornet.
Is a decoration.
For the rest of the
Yep.
Which was demented and it was scary, but it was a phenomenal shot to go back to. Just the rocking and the like air like that. That was fucked up.
It was pretty freaky. It was a very brutal kill, and it was without blood at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I did read that it was either. Probably the studios, because as we just stated, the artists are crazy. But I guess all of the killings in this movie were a lot more brutal than what actually made it to the final cuts. So I guess that there is, maybe it doesn't exist as like a extended cut or whatever, but I guess all of the kills were filmed at least twice to go like one crazy and then one just.
That's
like,
actually a tactic.
Really?
So a lot of times what directors will do is if they're really worried about getting like an X rating on something, they will film a portion of a scene that goes like way too far. And they know it's going to get rejected. And then film the scene that they actually want as the cut back version. And then so when they go to send off like the insane grotesque parts to get reviewed, the ratings board goes, "You just traumatized me. What the fuck is this shit? Why are you making me watch this?" They'll go, "You know what? We really don't want to, but we'll go ahead and tone it down if we can get that nice R rating and still make money off of this movie."
Yeah.
And then put in the version that they actually want into it.
That's genius.
I know for sure Quentin Tarantino has done that a lot.
That sounds right. Yeah. One of our saints.
So she is now a decoration. We then hard cut to what looks to be the most British man to ever exist.
Cheerio.
But this is Claire's father, and he's at a train station, and he just gets fucking beamed with some snow waiting outside. Yeah. We get some backstory, and it's really interesting how a lot of this movie now decides to focus on character after such a brutal opening.
It's a kind of a nice change of pace than a lot of the other movies that have gone into, because we now get to know a lot about this guy, and it's kind of nice because we don't really have to know much about him, but we get these as nice little bonuses.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of like modern day slashers, and this is just like the thing that no one really seems to grasp anymore is the emphasis on character. I have to like these people in order to feel bad about when bad things happen to them.
Absolutely.
And so when there is a guy who's starting to realize that his daughter is missing, and you make that into an interesting character arc, I am now what's called emotionally invested. When a bunch of movies are made now by soulless corporate machines that have never felt love in their entire life, you can tell by the products that they shit out every single day that are void of these feelings.
Completely void of any of this. It's nothing but the plot for the multi-universe, and then that's it. Like,
we then cut to Jess, who has become one of my favorite like final girls ever. Spoilers.
yeah.
But Jess here is meeting up with her boyfriend, who is like, I want to be a famous pianist. That is my dream in life, is to play the piano.
That dude was
And
such a loser.
she's just like, hey, so you busted in me, and now this is a baby.
Now we have a sick abortion subplot.
Subplot, which, like, I don't know. I'm not that versed in 70s films. I don't know if any movie out there even tried to touch that subject at the time.
I can't think of any. I mean, in a modern movie, it's hard to find it now.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, back in the 70s, it's really cool that, like, it was just an added in, like, little thing. It didn't have to be that, but yet...
It was pretty badass seeing her being like, I'm pregnant. I'm getting rid of this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to keep it? How about no?
Maybe.
Because I'm the one that's going to have to force this thing out of me.
Yeah.
Not you.
And I don't think your dreams of being the best pianist ever is going to pay the bills.
Exactly. I mean, she flat out says, like, you want me to give up my life and you live your dream. But I have my dreams. I'm not having this fucking baby.
Take it, soul sister, dude.
Yeah.
Just go out.
Get rid of it, dog. I'm on her side 100%.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention too. One of my other favorite character from this was the lady that like runs that sorority house, the older one.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's just like, oh, I don't drink, and then she has alcohol just hidden throughout the house. Everywhere.
She gave me like nearly Mrs. Doubtfire vibes.
Yep.
Of just like fun, but like no. Kids do your homework, and then like
glug 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 glug.
Yeah. And the fact that it was the fifth cut out of the book too.
Yeah,
that's just classic.
Oh, she's great. Or she has like alcohol hidden in the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we get Claire's father, who arrives, and that older character, Mrs. McHenry, I think is how it's pronounced. And the older father obviously is like old, staunch, conservative. I want my girl being in the right environment when we send her off to college. I don't want her being brainwashed.
Yes.
And it's like this great comedy skit of her like trying to cover up all these posters of nudity, hide all this booze and everything that's around.
You can't have this.
Yeah,
You can't have,
exactly.
Oh, don't worry. Like, but what a cool sorority mom. You know, her character was supposed to go to Gilda Radner, one of the original Saturday Night Live cast members.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think that may have been intended to be even more of a comedy than it ended up being, which was still funny. But either way, like even as cool as I wanted to see Gilda in the role after I read that, the older, more like, I don't know, like Mother Goose energy that she gives out is definitely is perfect.
Yeah, it really hits the role.
Yeah.
Like perfectly, as you said. Yeah. That's interesting. There's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff I didn't really know about this, so I'm glad that you're bringing all of this up.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
But it is like at this point too, like we get to that basic comedy sketch where I like forget this is supposed to be like a horror movie.
Definitely. Because it gets it gets intense like off the bat, and then you just get loose a little bit. And then every once in a while, there's a shot of the head again, and then goes down. And then it does a really, really good job with, like, telling you an actual story. And then it's almost like letting you in behind the scenes of something else that's going on. It's brilliantly directed.
And I think it's really brave how it brought up, like, real-world issues going on at that time.
Definitely.
And it's a little bit more... There's this term I really don't like that is used a lot these days called elevated horror.
Ugh.
For like
I don't know what it means, and I hate it.
For like movies like the H.2.4 A24, not H24.
Oh,
H24 is a codec.
Eh.
I am stupid. Oh my god. A24 horror movies that have been coming out lately. Like
You're stupid. I thought it was A24 this whole time. A24, you ever seen that Time movie?
Love that movie.
Yeah.
But movies like Hereditary, I think. Like I would love Hereditary. I don't want to talk shit about that movie, but like it got labeled as like elevated horror because it was trying to do something a little bit smarter than just the average consumer horror movie.
Sure. And it was cool, but I do also hate it when, it's like there's I won't name any to offend any bands that maybe want to put me on their tour, but there's a lot of bands that feel the same way where it's like when people listen to them, it's like they can't take just like, oh, this is a good song for a thing. They're like, no, this is fucking groundbreaking and it has not been done before, and this you have to take it at this value, and you have to know just how big brain this is. And it's like,
it's groundbreaking, dude. It's 25 minutes of math rock.
They changed time signatures 64 different times and it's never been done before. It's like, that's not a good song. It's a fucking dweeb. All right? I'm sorry. Like
dork ass.
Yeah. I don't want to play and count. I want to play. Like,
but like you get where I'm coming from then, because
Totally.
like it really touches on a lot of subject matter. My favorite shot in this movie is right after that first argument, after they're talking about getting the abortion, how you see her walk away from him in his piano. And the way that it's set up is that like you really see the distance that's growing between them.
yeah.
Because she's walking down like this really long pathway pretty much that leads out of this practice hall. And the way that it's set up, she's like on this carpet that's like set up as like a pathway for her to walk through. And like it feels to me that that's like symbolic. It shows the amount of like how they're growing apart. And that's like something that like made it start to like, oh, okay, well, this started off as like a scary movie. Now it's like a pretty interesting personal drama.
When he was playing at the first bit, I can't remember exactly what he was playing before, and I know we'll circle back to it. But when he does have his actual final pianist piece to play. That's one of my favorite musical scenes ever, dude.
Yeah.
That's such a weird piece of music, and he definitely sucks at it. It's the weirdest avant-garde, like, nonsense, and just that scene is so beautifully done, too, because it puts the, like, pressures of like, a high... I don't know, like a high art society, which is taking something that is inherently subjective and then like putting all of these parameters on it, as this dude is trying to do all the parameters when really he's just a fucking nonsense guy who doesn't have his head on straight because he won't let his girl get an abortion. Now he's thinking about it. Now he screws up everything. And like, I almost think that he starts to realize that he himself is false and like kind of up his own ass with the bullshit at that scene because and reflective in the music, which is tonally like not interesting. It's challenging, but exactly what we're saying about the time signatures, man.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
like,
just a pretentious asshole who realizes that he's not who he thinks he is.
yeah.
So another thing I love about this, and I also see it as like almost like DNA in horror films at this point, to where our main characters are going to the police trying to find the missing girl, right?
Uh-huh.
And the cops are useless. Like, less than useless.
Completely.
And
dude.
even the main detective on that team is making fun of the other cops.
Yeah. Just for... It proves that the 70s were the best and the worst. Because, yeah, you could get away with whatever. And and there's a scene right after where the sorority is having a Santa Claus party with all these kids in it, and all the sorority girls are drunk, like around the kids and everything. And so there is a sense of freedom that growing up in the 2000s like we did, that like it's like we didn't have that level of crazy freedom, and I'm almost like jealous of it. But then like it brings you right back out where you're like, oh yeah, but also because of that is why people got murdered. Like it's
Every now and then.
Yeah, true. It's not forever, but you know, there's a lot of tattoos with dates on them.
Yep. I think going back to like what happened at that police station, right? Mm-hmm. You have Barb and Phil, the like sorority sisters,
Yeah.
They're trying to report this disappearance, and the cop just does not take them seriously at all.
No, and it's Barb's fault.
And it's Barb's fault, obviously, because she was drunk as shit.
Yeah.
But then the next day, Claire's boyfriend barges in and demands something to be done with it. And, like, whether that's intentional or not, I really like that messaging of just, like, nobody took this seriously until a dude had something to say about it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Where, well, of course they're not going to do it because they're just sorority girls. They probably got creeped out. Like, please, the sorority mother can't trust her either. You know?
So then at one point, they just decide to form a search party. And I would say this is like around the middle areas where it does kind of feel like it's a little lulling at this point. I'm just kind of sitting there pulling my hair out, wanting something to happen. We get some pretty good, like, false starts, finishes. Like, I remember at one point there was, like, the girls are alone at the house completely, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door. For, like, this point of the film, it almost feels like a character drama after all this stuff. Can you tell me what's going on through your head the first time that you started watching this?
It was nice. It was I haven't been grossed out yet. So I'm definitely more inclined.
All right.
And I am a normal dude. So it's a bunch of girls in a sorority house. So obviously I'm like, well, one of them has to be smart. Let's see what happens here. And then we know that there's a killer, but you almost forget that there's a killer because there's all these cool social implications going on. And just you have reason to like the other characters. You're getting distracted, forgetting that there's a psychopath that lives in one of the houses.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. And the cops are cops.
Absolutely useless.
Did you-
Completely.
Did you see that? That's the same cop from Halloween.
I did not.
Yeah. The kind of like main cop guy is the same cop as Halloween.
Talk about typecast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And he just looks like a handsome guy like that too.
It probably just is the same character, too.
Honestly, probably.
Like, that'd be good lore of after the Black Christmas incident, he just packs up and moves over to whatever town Halloween takes place in.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn it, these psycho killers are following me everywhere.
I mean, if it's shot in Toronto but supposed to be America,
Anywhere USA.
anywhere USA, Halloween feels like it was like Michigan or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So that's not too crazy.
Not too crazy to think, yeah.
Um,
So it really does kind of just character drama, nothing really horrible except for the opening murder happening. And then before we know it, McHenry discovers Claire's body in the attic and is taken out with a crane hook.
with the crane hook, a brutal murder of a crane hook.
God.
Which is crazy that there's a crane hook just hiding out in the attic as well.
You're just
But
going to keep all your murder tools in the attic. That's the whole
why
point of the
not?
attic, yeah.
it was pretty impressive just as like a kill too, to just throw
Yes.
it down and be like, "Whatcha? Oh, cool, we caught her."
Yeah, just fishing. It's a crane game at this point.
Literally. Nah, that was a good kill. One of the better kills that we've seen in the Spooky School journey, only because it like somehow was still not as gross as it was comedic.
A little mix of both, yeah. Like very dark comedy when it comes to that. Just so
Yeah.
absurd, you kind of almost can't help but laugh.
Totally. And that is kill number 2 of the movie?
It is.
Yeah. Now the cops definitely should be privy to something, but
You would
why-
think, but at
why
the same
would they?
time, oh, maybe they just ran away together. Who knows?
Yeah. Did you this is about the time where they have that joke where they say, "What's your name?" and she's like, "Fellatio," and the cop's like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah, how do I spell that?
Yeah.
And then it gets back to the cops, and they all start laughing at him when they realize it's called fellatio.
So, I don't have anything to check this with other than I just read it on the internet. But apparently, why that scene was kept in was because it was an ongoing bit behind the scenes that this guy didn't know what fellatio was.
No way.
So apparently that this old-timey cop, which from the 70s, like he was definitely like a World War II guy, like just, definitely old, probably not hip to what the hip kids have been talking about for quite some time. So if that is true, it's which I like to believe that it is.
I'm going to believe it is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's a perfect setup, too, because that is probably my favorite line in the movie is Lieutenant Fuller. looks at this dumbass cop after everybody gives him shit for not knowing what fellatio is, and says, "I don't think you could pick your nose without written instructions." Best line in the film by far.
I'm gonna try and use that this week just for
You
a
should.
little flavor.
Next time your boss does anything you don't like, just tell him that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's my dad though.
Even better.
Even better. You couldn't pick your nose without a set of instructions.
Set of instructions there, mate.
I don't
Even though
know.
we're Canadian.
Yeah.
So they get the brilliant idea to wiretap the phone in order to figure out like where the calls are coming from, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's like just because I am so in tune with this shit. I remember the first time seeing this, knowing exactly where this was going to go.
Yeah.
It's like this urban legend that we've all heard a billion times before. But as soon as I heard like, oh, we're going to tap the phone, I knew immediately like, calls are coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you can't watch this and not know immediately that's what's going to happen.
That
I
is
mean,
a great
literally,
line.
especially since it shows him in the house making those calls, anyways.
You put that together yourself well before the line is so perfectly delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, yeah, because the killer's running around with I mean, you never see him, which is cool, or never really see him, which is cool. But did you know the killer was played by the cameraman who created his own kind of morph bodysuit to put the POV shots on?
No.
So he could actually, like, run around and climb up on stuff and, like, have the Steadicam available. And it's, like, a whole fucking thing that he made.
That's dedication to the craft.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So shout out to him, which should have learned his name.
John E. Camera Guy.
Yeah. Like, we and Hollywood gave him the same amount of respect.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, wow, neat.
I'm sure that suit is somewhere out there, somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably at the Mopop or something.
Probably. If you haven't been to that horror museum yet, you absolutely should.
It's fantastic.
It's so cool, yeah.
Anyone coming to Seattle or from Seattle, go see the horror exhibit. Top tier.
So it's after they set up that phone tap is when the horror part of the horror movie finally starts up again.
Yeah.
Because this is when it decides to finally be a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
They tap the phone. A group of Christmas carolers appear at the door. And as she is distracted, the killer sneaks into Barb's room. And with a glass unicorn. After
Such a
poor
crazy
Barb got
kill.
so fucked up that she had to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also saw him and woke up one time before to be like, what the fuck is that? Oh, I must be drunk and dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Huge mistake.
Had the drunk serial killer in my room scenario again. Whoopsies.
Yeah. Everyone has that fantasy, so.
Yeah.
The unicorn glass, just the blood running from it, those are such cool shots.
Yep.
And the way that it was just kind of animalistically just pounding it in, and it's brutal as hell.
You get the brief look at our killer.
Yeah.
Just kind of see him for like a split second, and then he's gone.
You don't get anything else than this.
Mm-hmm. They get another phone call. Phone call obviously fails the first time. They lock all of the doors and windows. This is when those Canadians show up to kind of give us like a false sense of scared, remember?
Yeah.
They have like the shotguns and they're with the search party.
Yeah,
And it's the two most obviously Canadian people ever.
Ever made.
It almost feels as if those guys are like friends with the director and wanted a cameo in the movie.
Funny you mention that. It's because everyone that wasn't one of the like main paid sorority, they're just extra crew members that they had. There was not any other like open calls for like just background casting. It was like down to crew members, like family members that were in town. We're just like, fuck it, you two, come here.
You have to be in this now, yeah.
Yeah. That's how cool and low budget they were running on at this time.
So later on in that, after the first call fails, Phil, I believe is this one character's name, ends up finding Barb's body, and then also is the next to just get dusted.
Yeah.
And like when it starts dusting off all of these characters, it just does not stop.
No, it's a party time. Excellent. We're at a sorority house. We got to keep going, and we got to protect Jess.
We got to protect Jess at all costs.
Yeah.
Who I'm trying to think, is this our very first ever final girl? It can't be, right?
Oh.
Do you even know what I mean when I'm talking about Final Girl?
Yeah, just the only one survives left, and it has to be one of the daintiest females.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, none come to mind, especially in the horror genre. I mean, what year was Alien?
I want to say 80s? No, 70s.
I think that was like
Alien had to
77
be
or
70s.
78. Yeah.
How am I this bad at movies?
1979.
Okay, there you go. Basically 80s.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, she's a great final girl. Despite being one of the first ones, is kind of the exact opposite of what ended up being the trope. Because especially like these 80 movies, right? It's always like the most virginal, the one that did not dare defile her body by deflowering herself with an impure cock and balls.
Yeah, but she did because now there's multiple in her because there's a baby.
There's a baby.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's pretty based and cool of just her like, yeah, I fucked this dude. I'm pregnant. I'm not going to be no more. And it turns out that's the one that's the final girl. Whereas if this was any other like horror movie, she'd be the first to go.
First to go, yeah.
Yeah.
And something would appear on the screen and say double tap.
Double kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was like Freddy Krueger, he'd stab her through the womb and say that. Like, lift her up as she's bleeding, and she's like, no, my baby. And she's like, oh, you're pregnant, huh?
Yeah.
Rips her out. Just like, oh, double kill.
That's
Hollywood.
Christmas at Freddy's.
Yeah, Hollywood would make that, not us. I'd never make fun of dead babies. That's just wrong.
No, of course.
Yeah, that's just terrible.
Yeah.
Can we have a moment of silence for dead babies everywhere, please? So...
Seems like you had some on your bed sheets this morning.
That's a seed. That's not a baby.
Yeah.
So...
Sunflower seed's not a sunflower.
Exactly. Are you sitting on a cow right now, or is that a leather chair? Jess gets another gross phone call, and this time they finally are able to trace it. Our detective is kind of planting little seeds throughout the movie leading up to this of just like, well, it could be your crazy boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's mad at you for wanting to abort a baby. Or it couldn't be. Who knows?
And not being not vague for anything else.
Yep.
Just like, oh, yeah, probably this. Sure, people are missing, but it's definitely the work of just one of the boyfriends.
It could just be your boyfriend, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's played at the very end because there's this brilliant chase scene that goes on through the entire sorority that ends with her being trapped in the basement of this house, knowing there's a killer. Oh, man, that's great, too. It's like it's up to Nash to tell her that there's a call. The killer's in the house.
Yeah.
The calls are coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Detective Fuller's like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to rescue them. I need you to call these girls and tell them what's going on. Don't fuck this up. Don't tell them what's going on.
Yeah.
Just tell them to leave.
Yeah.
And of course, Jess picks up the phone, is panicking. And the cop's like, you got to go. Come on, leave. And she's like, why? Why do I need to do that? Until finally he's like, bitch, you idiot, leave. He's in the house. He's going to kill you.
There is no other answer right now. You need this is done. Do you want to be a trope or do you want to make it?
Yeah.
Go.
You want to be a statistic at this point? Leave the house. Get out. So, of course, she doesn't. She just hangs up the phone, panics, runs into the basement, where she then sees Peter.
Easy dead end. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She then sees Peter, her boyfriend, who at this point she is full-on convinced is the one mercilessly murdering all of her friends.
Which... how could you not at this point?
At this point, the coincidence is just too strong, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love my wife, but if there was deaths going on all around me and I couldn't find her and then she was really mad at me about something and then I randomly ran into her in the basement, I would not be in that basement
While
anymore.
you were being chased by a serial killer?
Yeah, I gotta go. Sorry, babe. We'll talk about this later. Like
when you wake up from this concussion I'm about to give you.
I would never hit a lady.
Same here. Unless they were trying to murder me.
Unless they're trying to murder me, yeah, then it's fair game.
So at this point, she believes her boyfriend is the one trying to kill her and has already killed everybody. So we don't really see what happens. It just cuts to Detective Fuller kicking down the door, finding Jess still alive but passed out, and her poor boyfriend, Peter, deceased.
Yeah. Just did it.
Just did it.
Just did it.
And then a really weird choice, honestly, by the police in this movie. I get that they're supposed to be useless or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. They find Jess, and instead of taking her to a hospital or taking her to like anywhere that's safe,
Yeah.
they're like, well, Peter probably was the one who did this, so we could just leave her in bed to recover. Oh, we'll just get a guy or two to come by in the morning when she's feeling better and get a statement then. Let's just leave her alone. What's the worst that could happen?
In this house that we knew that there was a killer in.
In this house that is a crime scene.
Yes.
An active crime
Like,
scene.
There's not even enough room in the budget for a hotel room, a motel room. Hopefully not at the Bates Motel. Call back.
Let's just leave her in this house while we do our investigation. And you know what? Let's just leave for like a night and come back. What's the worst that could happen?
I mean, that's probably the most accurate depiction of American cops ever.
Just leave her there. We'll get to it when we feel like it. Fuck this.
Yeah, why not? There's way too much paperwork.
Yeah.
We got to go.
It's 9:00. I'm tired. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
It's Christmas time. I want to go see my kids.
Yeah. It's not just any Christmas. It's Black Christmas time.
And then, of course, we hear a telephone ringing, implying that our killer is still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Most likely in the basement, ready to kill Jess.
Yeah. And that's all she wrote.
So that's Black Christmas.
It's a pretty good ending. How it doesn't like there's no real satisfaction. Normally I don't like that. Normally I like a cheesy good ending just because like I also need a reason to like feel good when I just go move about. But this was such a good open-ended mystery of like we don't know. Jess is probably dead. Is probably not going to make it out, and this is just going to continue probably. But the fact that it just rested, good to go.
We don't know who the killer really is.
No.
We don't know why they're killing anybody. All we just know is that there's a killer loose.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
I like that the killer had a backstory that didn't get explained. I had to look deeply into it, but apparently the killer's name was Billy. And, of course, he was abused and abusive to other people and probably killed his parents and locked himself into a basement for years trying to somehow connect that to his I'm not good around girls thing. Which is why he locked himself in a sorority house, I guess, because bitches
When
love
I'm
murder.
trying to avoid girls, that's the first place I go.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Do you know about the Halloween connection?
Tell me about the Halloween connection, because you already mentioned the cop from Halloween.
I already mentioned the cop, but this is the craziest thing. So this movie is more than just inspired Halloween. This movie, after the project, the director Bob Clark was working on something with John Carpenter that never actually like got out or finished or whatever. And John told Bob how much he liked Black Christmas and if there would ever be a sequel. And Bob said he wasn't interested in going back into horror territory, but if he did make another one, it would be about the night he escapes, and it's going to be called Halloween.
All right, cool.
So basically, John Carpenter heard that, said, "Got it,
That would be a great idea for a movie. Let me just
yeah. But further on, Bob Clark, the director, after Halloween was out, and was talking with John Carpenter, like they were, I don't know about buddy, but at least like friendly to an extent, where he did double down and say that John Carpenter deserves the full expansive credit he got for doing the movie because he literally only said the sequel would be called Halloween and it would be about him getting out. And then he's like, that's not a screenplay of a movie at all. Like John definitely deserves all of the credit.
Yeah.
But the fact that when you know this and then you know Halloween and how many parallels are between the two, and then John Carpenter's like, I don't know about magnum opus, but one of them was just inspired by, he's like, oh, I fucking love this movie. Can you make a sequel? And the guy's like, nah. And he's like, I'll do it. Yeah. And that's how we have Halloween right now. Blew my fucking mind.
That reminds me a lot of like what goes on in like indie game development scenes. Where like there will be like a game from like an era that, you know, we grew up in that was pretty influential, but there was no real sequel to it or anything else like it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of studios will then just develop basically their version of that game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. You know what? In my head, it's canon. Halloween is just a sequel to Black Christmas.
Honestly, after hearing that, yeah, I'm looking at that as the first movie from now on.
It should have been called Black Halloween.
Black Halloween.
Yeah.
Another cool thing I learned about this movie is going to be on TV, but at the time there was recent sorority murders in Florida. And so,
Of course, it's Florida.
of course, yeah. But so this was going to be the film's first television release, but they pulled it last second because they didn't want it to be too distasteful. That was going on with everything in the news right now.
You would think that'd be the perfect time to air it.
That's what I said, and especially doubling down now, saying that the sorority killings in question, why it got pulled was the Ted Bundy murders.
Really?
Yeah, and so pretty neat tie-in with the old buns.
I'm sure he watched that movie and was directly influenced by it,
I mean, I was.
What?
So, I'm sorry. delete.
No, it's cool. I'm just going to delete this. Hold on. My I dropped something. Hello, 911.
And I know that we're both suckers for a good soundtrack.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, Psycho had a great one. We will talk about It Follows and the amazing soundtrack that follows that. But I learned that the soundtrack to this was rubbing, or how they created it was rubbing random objects like combs and forks over piano strings. Just that creepy, like just all the crazy noises possible. Like,
that's amazing.
which also, everything about this movie totally lines up with everything that I know about John Carpenter.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool, like, I don't want to, obviously JC.
You know what? John Carpenter gets credit for making this. I don't care if he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree. I'm not taking anything away from him. It's cool. Everyone needs an origin story, but it just became way clear after reading all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I think historically it matters more in the grand scheme of horror movies than like the actual sitting down watching the movie itself did. But the at least the characters, everyone, I don't think there was a bad actor in it.
No, not at all.
Like, we already talked about Barb, and we already talked that Barb was just like, she feels like the prerequisite of the drunk stadium girl that's in every single major city. But as we talked about, she also was a struggling alcoholic through the whole thing, so probably wasn't even acting that much. But what was really funny is all of the actors themselves were trying to add a little bit of flair. Like, they all took a passion into this project and tried to like ramp it up by playing real sorority girls, and that's actually why a couple points in the movie, and especially the one where Barb is ranting about turtle sex.
Yeah.
Just like awkward turtle sex to that one girl's dad. Apparently all those rants were put in there because they were saying as like, well, they're college girls and they're learning all these things, and so they're going to want to sound smart. And so we're going to need to put in all this dialogue of them, like, overcompensating for, like, them being in school, but especially easily played by Barb, where she's trying to say all this information of, for lack of a better term, like, look how smart I am. But all of this is because she's also like, but I'm drunk and insecure. So it was cool to see even just, like, the individual characters. Because on such a small movie with the small budget that it had, it's cool to see even down to just like the actors really take their own torch and run with it too. Because I mean, it's got to be so annoying if a director has an idea and just the actors like, I don't know, I got paid $5,000 for it, I'll just do whatever. And it's like, no, don't you see my vision?
My vision, it's so brilliant.
Yeah. But
your vision and the budget for that vision went into the opening shot. That's it. That's all you had. I highly doubt this movie even had a real script.
No.
It was probably just like parentheses. Barb goes on some cool rant here.
I mean, yeah, I'll double check the numbers, but what do you think the budget was for this?
I'm going to say $686,000.
You may not be far off because
I think that's exactly right since I have this IMDb up that says
Oh, do you?
686. Yeah.
Oh yeah, good.
Whoops. Sorry. Didn't mean to cheat.
Oh no, you more. But yeah, under $1 million for a big movie, like around $500,000 for a big movie, like that's nutty.
That's like 1974 money, though. So I wonder how much that is today. And it only made 1.3 million Canadian, which is like negative $400 in USD.
Yeah. That's a lot of taxes going over the border. Well, either way, overall, I really enjoyed this suspense slasher thriller. It really separates itself from other horror and collegiate films by having no nudity and smart women. Mm-hmm. It's pretty wild to have that, right? Yeah. It's very positive to keep them clothed, smart, and even fighting for abortion. I mean,
it was pretty wild. I do say a lot of times that, like, in terms of social commentary, horror is the very first genre to actually jump on that and is not afraid to make a statement when it comes to it, right?
It really, yeah.
Like, a lot of really big things that are going on, like, right now, right? Like, the first movies that I saw, mainstream films at least, that were big, wide release, mainstream studio films to tackle subjects like racism was Jordan Peele's movies, right?
Yeah.
And like this was way before any other studio even wanted to use the R word, racism.
Yeah.
To like, or even bring up that topic. They were just too scared. But because like horror is not afraid to actually make a statement.
No.
It's the first one to always kind of jump in there and plant the flag in the ground and go, this is what I'm trying to say with this subject matter.
There's so many parallels of horror and punk rock. Mm-hmm. It's not only saying something that goes against mainstream ideology, but they're yelling it. Mm-hmm. And they're letting you know in every possible faction, whether it be bar chords and really, really fast drums or fucking knives in people's chests.
Yep.
Like somehow they're getting their point across as good as possible. It has this youthful energy that both genres, horror and punk, and I mean even just aesthetically, they're so similar. So this is really just two ways of expression that are married at the whole,
and the spirit of it too really matches, right?
Definitely.
Because like when I think of amazing like indie movies like Night of the Living Dead, that was a bunch of people getting together to make some really cool shit. For the sake of making some really cool shit.
Yes.
And that is about as fucking punk rock as it gets.
I mean, is there anything more pure than just like having a bunch of people on like one superset vision, and also for better or worse, not having like the most talented people at the helm, but people that are willing to put in the work and put in the practice and put in the everything to like actually make it work.
And even if you don't have the budget that you want, especially compared to other more mainstream films, you take what you have and you make do and you make it work.
Absolutely.
Even if it means getting some shitty wallpaper from Amazon and thumbtacking it to the fucking wall.
Yeah.
I mean, building your own studio.
Yeah, totally brand new. Absolutely.
Totally brand new with
Construction
our...
was impeccable.
Yeah, it was pretty great with our high budgets that we get here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, punk rock in this film, the punk rock and horror, I mean, both peaked in the 70s, you know? And so this this movie really had this obvious 70s style of filmmaking that draws me in with slow pans and zooms and keeping it hypnotic. And there's movies that do it now, but it's just such a staple of the time period that it's one of the ways that you get me locked into the roller coaster. It's the POV shots you could tell were every future director's favorite.
Oh, yeah.
The way that it's a great trope of horror, it has been for well over 40 years.
At this point, yep.
Yeah. The main character played a role exactly how she should. A scared college student that's a little more keen than the rest of the house, but still no genius. You know, it's puts a whole bunch of realism. You know, she's not trying to be a superhero.
She's not trying to be a superhero, and when she knows she's right, stands up for herself.
Exactly.
Which was pretty, like, honestly daring to see in a 70s movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fist in the air, girl. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of blood and fight scenes left a bit more to be desired, but considering the time that it came out, it would have been banned in America if all that actually happened either way. So overall, this is a great horror recommendation for anyone that especially likes slashers, but any horror movies. And if you want to have a tradition that's fit for a king, Elvis watched this movie every single Christmas for all of the Christmases that he was alive between the movie coming out.
All one of them.
And yeah. I think it's a tradition that lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah. Big fan of the movie. Super cool. Invite your friends over to watch it. And from the history books, it lets you know that ladies have always been into horror.
Yep. Very well said. I don't know if this is like one of those things where I feel like it's a must watch, right?
Yeah.
But it definitely, if you do track it down, it will give you a new appreciation, I feel like.
Watch Halloween, forget about the first 10 minutes, and then watch this as the prequel.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a good time. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, feelings, anything else when it comes to this movie?
No, it was cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've watched a lot of interesting films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hardly any blood, no nudity.
Yeah.
But slashers have a reputation, I would say. I'm going to do that again. Slashers have like a pretty bad reputation, I would say. A lot of critics call this lowbrow cinema, meant for the most common denominator of audience. Only known for gore and nudity and not really having anything interesting to say, existing just for the sake of being a product, right?
Sure.
I feel like a good horror podcast would try to argue against that, push back against it, and then maybe put to the forefront a lesser known, maybe like indie movie that, despite being a slasher, kind of goes against all of those tropes and is able to make a statement, right? We're not that fucking podcast. Next week, I want you to watch a little classic called Sleepaway Camp.
Okay.
I am not exaggerating. This is the trashiest piece of shit you will ever watch in your entire life. And that's why I love it.
Okay. All right. I've not seen this. I've heard of this movie before.
Do you know the ending?
I don't.
Oh. Don't fucking spoil it for him. Shut up. Okay, good. All right, cool.
All right.
I am very interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
All right.
So next week, your assignment, I want a full report on Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp. All right. Well, I'll see you in a week then.
I will now cut to the outro of us shilling for you to like, subscribe, comment, do all the shit. Please. God, I hate having to promo this stuff. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Until we meet again, take care and stay spooky, my friends.
Thank you.
See ya. Oh, we weren't recording.